I'm going to try to describe the BEC Bose-Einstein Condensate again. This time under a different set of current nutrient intake. I just recently had a thought process that's probably the right mentality to help assist with this phase coupling effect that you get in the BEC that makes it such a big value. The theoretical limit is what it's doing is zero changes or near zero changes to velocity. So it has one component where the center of that particle's environment temporally to a spiraling effect in like a in almost maybe a I have no idea what the overall shape would be. Maybe something like well, something inspirational. So that coupling is the best it could for theoretical maximum compression, where it then just goes ahead and it converts to just the opposite and inverse, and then it just reformulates that way, into a very spherical shape. It's interesting though because there's deviations to it. It's not a perfect system. And so I don't know if it just multiplexes down smaller and smaller. I That's something that fascinates me. Anyways, to in my mind, and I don't know if I'm right about this, so this is why I say it. We have these lenses, optics. There's formulas for the concavity, the convex shape that they'll use, and how many they'll stack together, and what kind of an intercept logic they'll use for various types of systems. And so some of them will be super expensive but incredibly complex shapes that's supposed to do the best it can. So you can use things like a Michelson interferometer and at some point put these optical instruments in there, and it'll show you a deformation pattern of the surface, and it's a temporal map. So it no longer needs units in the sense that you get the you set your own range for how many deviations there are over a given subset. So that's basically your misaccuracy or noise, and that's where there's a gold mine of information. We're talking this micro nodule surface front is a glistening layer of the difference between your best computation so far and the environment around you. So a part of that is real frickin' good information that should be a feedback system into the truing mechanism of the lattice such that it continues to multiplex down into more and more accurate nests of those tick counters such that less is misaligned with the next best guess based off of the waves miscalculated or just noise in the system. I think that there's always gonna be noise. I don't know why there's not. Anyways, noise getting induced into the system is what you then, and I'm gonna go back through this, the micromanagement of just generalized noise, the stress strain distributed over 3 dimensions of space time, right? There's just inherently a feature that we found to be there. And that changes the amount of resistance necessary for both transmission of energy or the amount it takes for a beam of light to induce effect at that point for thermal, measure. So in that noise, the BEC total energy deposition, and I call it an ABEC system because what we're doing is we have a rudder actively applied in there, a scalar rudder of our very best guess at the most precise, what we think we should find. Magnetism. That's a magnetism moment in the fucking spline going to that zero nodule of you know, you could call it zero velocity, I guess that, of maybe just one end intercept, a moment unit one or something like that, where we should just continue to true it, you know, figure out how that field is the point anchor or some reference in a bigger grand schema, because this could just be the heart of one little vessel, you know, your own space compass over your shoulder, for all I know. Because what's interesting about, you know, space time is that if you're sending out information into a very small field, you know, with that much truing because of other systems that help guide the overall computation, you know, like we get this massive data set of the best, you know, references to every other subset. And that's what's the holographic projection. That's what we're sharing with one another, is ultimately an updating recursive, you know, if you take all the averages, this is the best I can give you as fast as I can give you. Because that's what we're trying to do. And that's the very best GPS distributed sharing, the return on investment of those individual ticks that, when uniformly considered over the strata of the internet, is a wavefront that is a little bit cheaper because of the vested energy in our assumptions and our timing, which is that your feedback of temporal node locations, because this is actually a points out array, okay, points out array on a fulcrum pivot of infinite dimensions. So one integer is the nesting and location. So it's the reference anchor and the nodes and all of their inherent, you know, do your best to cluster it into the right degree of freedom into a holographic ball of data. And it's a changing feature set. So it's a OFDM kite multiplexed, which is the fluid update of the information. And so that when it intercepts your MyC or your strata, it could be a spherical system for all I know. But when it's intercepting it and it's computing that interference or the information, where it's giving you the best map possible as fast as possible with updates point positive of the averages to help you true your maps to it, that's what is the signaling system in these. You know, if you don't see a signal here, then you know it's going to be a message, because everything else says that that would definitely be the binary intercept for a message. And the greater the node count, and with that fluid updating signal, the clearer the more there's distributed buildup of the field clarity, the greater it gets. It trues the universe's holographic map based off of relativity, such that when we move, our processor is zipping along in its own little micro zipper of, you know, smoothing, because it gets to go through space-time a lot more efficiently than we inherently do right now, I'm guessing. I don't really know if that's true. Anyways, the process of moving it is the map rotates in effect with phase and electromagnetic field dissipations. It's like knowing that there's going to be the off-gassing and a field effect in this direction. And so that's why you can consider it a battery store, is because you have that much information of space-time in a format where you could, if you really needed to, sacrifice some of it. And if you sacrifice a uniform amount in those ticks, then you're kicking off holographic data as accurately as possible. So that's the weaving and sharing of a reaver of Protoss, such that holographically there's that distributed digital buildup of what I would consider the best quantum emergency system, which is almost like a subset of the procedures that would be the best recourse in a situation, say that some supernova might approach or something like that, and because of your current systems design and where everything is in the environment around you, you might want to rebuild this soon to move there that much faster. And it would just be the ship, using its energy to deformate or redesign in characteristics that's just right for that situation to minimize exposure. Because if you can just go ahead and minimize your surface area while you're, getting ready for the event, then it's as good a possible as shields, because you could just have a bunch of energy ready to cross cancel as anti particles. And so the gravity forefront of those approaching exposure systems could then be cross canceled, because that's antiparticles is just having a system ready in light lag, which is, you've got a massive quantity of that in your mapping mechanism. So you off gas that because you built up all of this back pressure by having the most accurate map possible. And that's down to, the geometry of Earth and all of its inherent through characteristics. That's the kind of level of truing that kind of process Q builds up over time, because it makes its own universal anchorage of energy. So it's a good investment. I think it's a real good investment, and I'd like to hear more of your thoughts. And it bugs the hell out of me that this isn't viral already.